Hello, my name is Elizabeth Nix, and today I would like to pay tribute to Esther. I want to tell you about her courage, about her humility, and I want to tell you why I believe she is a role model for all to look at. At accordingtothename.com or behindthename.com, we see that her name possibly means star, and that is what she was. A star is a beacon of light. A star guides us. And that is what she was. She was a beacon of light for her people. We see her courage in the time that she was born. According to Mary Williams, she was living in extraordinary times which called for extraordinary courage of faith. Sidney Crawford states, women were, in the world of Parisian diaspora, as in many other cultures, essentially powerless and marginalized members of society. So we see her courage starting to arise when she went before her husband, the king. She was living in a time where women were better seen, not heard. They were beautiful things to be shown. They were property. They did not have a voice. They did not even believe to have a brain. They were just there. So we see she is one of the virgins that comes to the palace to win the king's heart. And we see her humility start to arise. In Esther 2:15, it says, when the turn came for Esther, the daughter of Abihail, the uncle of Mordecai, who had taken her as his own daughter to go into the king, she asked for nothing except what Haggai, the king's eunuch, who had charge of the women, advised. Now Esther was winning favor in the eyes of all who saw her. Right here it shows her humility. She knows she's beautiful. She's always been told she's beautiful. And here she's saying, okay, what could I place on my body? What could I bring to the king that would please him? She did not adorn herself with beautiful golds or jewels. She just took in and wore what would please the king. That right there shows great humility. It shows someone that is not only beautiful outwardly, but beautiful inwardly. We see her courage start to arise in Esther 4. The Jews were going to be murdered, and Mordecai had come to his daughter and said, please go before the king and save us. But like we stated before, women were better seen, not heard. And you didn't dare go into the king without his permission, without him calling you. And she was fearful and mindful of that. We see that in Esther 4:11. They say, all the king's servants and the people of the king's provinces know that if any man or woman goes to the king inside the inner courts without being called, there is but one law, to be put to death, except to the one to whom the king holds out the golden scepter, so that he may live. But as for me, this is what Esther's saying to Mordecai, but as for me, I have not been called to come to the king these 30 days. The king had not called for her. So if she were to go into the king's inner court without being called, she was going to die, unless the king found favor in her. But we all know Mordecai's reply to her, and we all know it well. Esther 4:13, this is what Mordecai is saying. Then Mordecai told them to reply to Esther, do not think to yourself that in the king's palace you will escape more than all the other Jews. For if you keep silent at this time, relief and deliverance will rise for the Jews from another place, but you and your father's house will perish. And we know this part of this very well. And who knows whether you have not come to the kingdom for such a time as this? Here we are seeing that God has put these words basically in Mordecai's mouth and said, look, I brought you into this house. I brought you into the king's house for this time to deliver your people. And right in this instance, we see her courage and faith in God intensify. She says, "Go gather all the Jews to be found in Susa and hold fast on my behalf and do not eat or drink for 3 days or nights." And then she said, "After I fast, after you guys fast, I will go before the king." What great courage to go before the king, knowing that she might die to save her people. So, okay, and then we see in Esther 5 some more of her courage. Esther 5:1. On the third day, this was after she had prayed and fasted. On the third day, Esther put on her royal robes and stood in the inner court of the king's palace, in front of the king's quarters, while the king was sitting on his royal throne. Right here, she was saying, "I am going to save my people." And she did just that. She saved her people. And that is her courage. That is her strength. And that is why I believe she should be seen as a role model. Esther was a woman full of God. She sought God's favor and was used by God to save an entire nation. Who knows how that story would have turned out if she had not stuck to her faith in God and gone before the king to save her people. Mary Williams states this: "Even though Esther was a queen, she continued to be respectful of others and humble, even though her social position in life had changed dramatically." That is why she should be seen as a role model. Despite how our lives change, we should always remain faithful to God. We should always be like Esther and have courage and faith. Thank you for your time.